Hey, the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast is brought to you by you, the listener. We love you so much and want to continue to entertain you for years to come. So if you want to help out the podcast and make sure that happens, you can join the ranks of Anime Addicts over at aapodcast.com/join. You can do it over at Patreon also. It'll help out the show a lot. You'll get 8 extra episodes of exclusive content per month just for you. And of course, our undying affection over at aapodcast.com/join. And now it's time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Yokoso, and welcome to episode 585 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. My name is Mason, and I have no funny intro today. I am in just mental disarray. Big emergency. My precious blue cup that longtime viewers of this show know and love has broken. It has snapped. In fact, both of them, my duplicate twin, my pillars of my essence, the very foundation of which my entire persona is based upon, has been ruined. And I am just big tie hen all over the board. I have no words to I'm just a mess right now. But with me to salvage, to put the pieces back together, is my friend Mitsugi. Glad to have you with us today in this trying hour.
That's right. What's up, brother? Were your cups a dishwasher casualty? Is that what happened?
No. So one of which was I was hand washing it, as I do because I just have such a love and care for them. I just yeeted it off of the counter when I was trying to fit a pan where it didn't belong. It like slipped off the edge of the bowl that it was perched on and pushed it. It just Mufasa'd this cup out of the oh my goodness. And the other one, I didn't even know it was broken. I was like, well, I guess I have this backup. I put it on my like mouse pad, and all of a sudden, after like 20 minutes, everything was wet. And I was like, what? Why is it so damp? And I guess there's just a sliver opening where just water was oozing out. And like Mason, my feelings, I'm oozing with sadness.
Mason, you must care for your beloved cups. Like you just cherish them and caress them the way you would a cute new baby born babe, the way that you would hold the sweetest of lovers in your arms. And I mean, and if you don't have the finesse and the sort of delicate sense of heart to do that, then you need to just start drinking Monster out of an aluminum can, because the aluminum cans, they are strong, and they will make you strong of heart. And you can it's like see, a Monster is very much like a masochistic drink. It's like you can beat the shit out of this can, you can drop it, you can curse at it, you can throw it, and it will never fail you. It will never break. And so welcome to the podcast. I'm drinking a gold Monster today, Ultra Gold. It's in the house, baby.
And before, get excited for the redemption arc where I go shopping for new cups. But until then, welcome everyone to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. We are here actually to make your anime addiction worse, despite what that intro might lead you to believe. Hopefully this isn't your first time joining, in which case, cancel, delete.
In which case it was a quick hello and goodbye, I'm sure.
Exactly. Welcome to the show. Where we stream live every Sunday at almost 5 p.m. EDT over on Twitch. We have a whole chat there where lovely people join and make fun of us for wallowing in our cup sympathies. And if you're listening to this, just know that I am just oozing buckets of tears right now. We also have a Facebook. We have a Discord, each of which are popping off and super popular places to be. Highly recommend you giving those a chance. What else you should give a chance is some guesting that Mitsugi was on.
That's right.
Let's do this.
Well, we all heard Sean from the Anime Out of Context podcast that came on our show some time ago. And like the good little reciprocants that they are, I joined them on a recent podcast episode of Anime Out of Context, episode 164, where we talked about Tokyo Revengers, which is a delinquent anime that is sadly devoid of, it is delinquent itself of having pompadours, because that anime lacks pompadours for a show that is almost entirely about delinquents. So that was pretty sad. But hey, if you want to check them out, episode 164, you can hear me pop off like a madman over on Anime Out of Context. And Mason was on the r/anime podcast to do spring 2021 impressions. So, or I guess retrospectives.
It was actually both. We did the impressions at the beginning, and they were kind enough to invite me back to do the retrospective at the end. So I was like, oh, dang, that's very nice of you. I wasn't expecting it. So I watched like 12 to 15 shows over the course of like 5 days.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare, but I had a bunch of fun. Those guys are super nice, super welcoming. And we had a blast just covering pretty much all the big shows from last season. So if you're like, I wonder what Mason thinks about a certain show, there's a good chance we talked about it there. So go check it out. It was a ton of fun.
And were you an Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast shill while you were over there?
You don't want to push too hard. You want to just be like, you put it out there, but if you want more, which I don't know why anybody would. I guess some people found us, but I tried to share the love.
All right.
And last reminder, beginning of August, the first real weekend, August 6th through the 8th, at Otakon, I will be attending. I will be hanging out all over Washington, D.C. So if you're in the area, if you're at the convention, whatever, just stopping by, make sure you say hello and we can meet up and have a bunch of fun. That's your weekly reminder for that. Last thing of housekeeping, Caroline, our beloved third wheel here, is not with us today. She's out being an actual human being and adventuring and spending time with her family. So
she has
look
died.
forward to her coming back next week.
She just kidding, she didn't die.
Coming back from the grave. She was haunted so bad in Boston, Massachusetts, where she went to Salem, that she's been possessed and she's all fighting the undead in the underworld.
Does she
so
float?
Hopefully...
Burn her. Oh goodness.
Anyway, what do we actually are doing today anime wise? Well, our topic is anime relationships doomed to fail. This was a listener request and we went off with some weird directions on it, as well as our first round of impressions for the summer anime season. We're covering Kanojo mo Kanojo, Scarlet Nexus, Kageki Shoujo, Bonitas no Carte, Bokutachi no Remake, and Genjitsu Shugi Yuusha no Oukoku Saikenki.
Coco blah 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 blah.
Today we're gonna be doing
That's
impressions.
right, motherfucker.
Impression time, believe
It's
it.
impression time, baby. I don't know if we'll get to all these, but
Probably not, but we'll see.
It's just us. We'll have to see how many we get to, but
yeah, we have an absolutely stacked show. So enough Mason dwaddling. It's been far too long. Let's kick it off with the big news of the week.
It's time for big news of the week.
all right. Well, truth be told, I don't really give much of a fuck, but Konosuba's coming back. So there was a live stream that announced that Konosuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world, is getting another anime season. It has been greenlit. There really haven't been that many details on it, but there was some cute promo art put out. And I know that a lot of people are big fans of Konosuba, so this is probably like, I don't know, top 20 biggest shows that keep getting sequels, maybe. So
it's certainly big news. I don't think they've announced, though, if it's a season. I'm assuming it is. We got the first season in 2016. We got the second in 2017. And besides the movie, like in 2019, we haven't got like a proper season sequel of this. So I know a lot of people are excited. It looks visually a little concerning. They look a little like off-brand Aqua. Like it doesn't look, I don't know if it's the same studio. I don't know who did the art for it. So this raises actually a lot more questions than answers, but obviously a huge mega popular
Mason's
series.
concerned.
I am, frankly a little concerned. We've actually gotten other anime from the same source material writer, which have definitely not come close to reaching the heights of Konosuba. And that's coming from a person who's like not the biggest fan of the seasons, but actually really enjoyed the movie, The Legend of Crimson or whatever it was. I thought that really was like, okay, I'm getting into it now. So, well, let's see what happens. You know,
So
more Konosuba, it's a good thing.
season 3, right, is what we're on here.
That's what it would be if it
Yeah.
would be a season.
I mean,
I,
the prior 2 seasons were Studio Dean, which in my opinion is not a good studio. So I
would
Studio Dean's been around
agree.
for a long fucking time though. I mean, they ain't new.
But they put out good stuff every now and then.
I mean,
They're
I
not
guess
like
so.
completely devoid. They're no Silverlink, my man. Like that's just me having a vendetta against Silverlink. Don't.
How
Take
old
it
is Studio
personally.
Dean? Their first anime on here was Yurusei Yatsura. That's fucking old. So okay. I mean, big props to any studio that's been around for 40 years. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah, because I
old.
know JC staff did the movie, and that was a different studio, and that worked pretty well. So I don't know if it'll go to JC. I don't know if it'll go to Dean. I have no idea what'll happen with this, but more Konosuba in any iteration gets the fans excited. So there you go.
There you go. People ought to
More
be pumped as shit. I don't know anything about Konosuba other than that.
Megamoon gifs explode across the internet.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of what the hell's the blonde character, the blonde girl,
Darkness,
Darkness.
the
Yeah,
the one who likes getting punished.
yeah. I'm Team Darkness for sure. So
There you go. You staked your claim.
yeah, there you go. What else,
I
Mason?
My big news is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the manga Part 8, JoJolion, has announced that it will
Whoa,
be ending in August.
whoa. Is it JoJolion or JoJo Lion?
I call it JoJolion. I'm
Okay.
sure it's pronounced JoJo Lion, but it's who knows what it actually is. I'm sure someone's smarter than me. I call it JoJolion because the Araki, the mangaka, took it from like Evangelion, like that kind of like ethereal, almost religious connotation. So I kind of mash them together. It might be JoJo Lion. Who knows? Anyway, Araki
Who really
announced
gives a
on
shit?
Twitter that exactly that the manga will be ending in the September issue of Shueisha's Ultra Jump, which means that it comes out in August. So within a month of you hearing this, Part 8 will be concluded manga-wise. This has been the longest running part of JoJo, starting back in May of 2011. So for pretty much a decade, this has been going on. And I actually just started my reread of it back in June, where I read one chapter a day because I had an inkling I'm a smart man who can see the future. And I was like, I think in the month or two, this series is going to end. And sure enough, I called it. So I will actually be finishing up the manga almost as it comes to its proper conclusion. So super excited to do that. For reference, to give you an idea for how long Part 8 has been,
Fucking
originally Part
long.
7 was the longest part of JoJo Steel Ball Run at like 4,300 pages. The longest part that's been adapted so far to anime, Diamond is Unbreakable, is at like 3,500. And Part 8, by time it's all finished, will exceed 4,700 pages, which is long.
Well, they said it's 26 volumes, so
Yeah,
you know.
it's been going for a hot while, and it's amazing. It's a great series.
I'm not really sure what the average length of a manga is in pages, but it's probably like
Look
250 pages.
how amazing this cover looks. God,
It does look very
JoJo,
bizarre.
it's so banger. Sorry, video content. Who cares? Anyway, uh, I'm not like disappointed to see it ending. I'm glad, in a sense, because it's been going for so long. I have no idea if we're gonna get it part 9. I think it's far too soon to even discuss it. But Araki is like 20 years old by this point. He's just aging in reverse. So who knows what'll happen? But
How old is he
it's
really?
excited. Early 60s maybe.
Let's see. Tetsuro Araki.
Hiro Hiko.
Oh, I clicked on the wrong name. Well, that's what happens when you operate from a computer. How old is this man?
61 it says, according to the interwebber nets, and he looks like he's early 30s. This man is a god.
He's on mass amounts of like TRT and HGH and aging in reverse. He's
He
like Benjamin Button.
He just draws beautiful men on paper, and that energy is infused into his skin, and then he himself becomes more beautiful, and
That's
the
right.
cycle just repeats for thousands and thousands of pages. And
That's right.
yes, so one series begins, another comes to a close, but we will see what happens with all that. So that's the big news.
All right, short and sweet. There really wasn't like a tremendous amount of news this week, so there were a couple interesting things, and there are a couple of interesting things in the news break, but they weren't really worth leading the show with. So, if you want to hear the rest of it, you can just listen to the news break like good boys and girls. All right, so we have a main topic today that is, well, we'll see how this goes. It was suggested by Kiryu Christian on the Discord. Anime relationships doomed to fail, which I feel like there are a lot of them, to be honest. So. But there were a lot of them that I think would last forever too. So I threw a couple of those in here too because I don't want to be totally negative. But personally, I think that a lot of characters in anime get paired up because they're totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about like My Love Story, for example, the two characters are so utterly polar opposite that you're like, how does this happen? Or My Little Monster. There's several of these. Yep.
For My Love Story, like they're very polar opposite, like in appearance and physical wise. But I would say like they're the two like sweetest, kindest, most genuine people out there. I know. That's why I'm a podcaster, because I'm a master of making up words. But like, they're just the best couple ever. So they're kind of opposite, but not really. But yeah, My Little Monster is a little more. How did these possible people come together?
I don't really buy the opposites attract thing. I personally think that people thrive in relationships that when they have common values and common interests the most. So we'll see. To me, people that are totally different don't really necessarily make the best couples. But so I started off this list here with some relationships that I feel like will probably last forever, just based on what I've seen, and because I want to throw some positivity in here. And I'll start. I think that I got three pairings here that I think have a good shot. First of all, I think Bulma and Vegeta will last forever. Vegeta is just like, Bulma is just tough enough to like not take Vegeta's shit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think, and deep down, I think Vegeta kind of likes being kicked around by Bulma. So, I mean,
is he also a fan of darkness like you?
He probably is. I mean, he gets kicked around by pretty much everybody else in Dragon Ball, so he might as well get kicked around by Bulma too. He gets his ass beaten by Goku early on. Vegeta gets his ass beaten by Frieza. Gets his ass beaten by the Ginyu Force. Gets his ass, yeah, pretty much until he heals and then comes back with a vengeance.
Imagine getting your butt whooped on by people who dab as part of their intro. Imagine how much of a blow that is to his ego.
It just goes on and on. He gets his butt kicked by he becomes Majin Vegeta so he can fight Goku, who literally fights him like 2 whole Super Saiyan levels below where he's capable of, which is such an embarrassment. Then he loses to Cell, he loses to the androids, he loses to Boo, he loses to everybody. Poor Vegeta. His self-esteem he's resilient in that way, but he gets his ass beat a lot. Ashitaka and San, like they kind of have this relationship that I feel like probably won't go anywhere, but Ashitaka is just dumb enough and just loyal enough to like never go anywhere and just hang around San, even though she's probably not really all that interested, to be fair. And
it's a different kind of relationship, but one nonetheless. I could see it.
And I think Amelia and Subaru from ReZero probably because Subaru will fuck it up like over and over again. He'll be like, "Oh, forgot her birthday. Oh, I said the wrong thing, or whatever." He'll just like go out back and like shoot himself in the head with a gun so he can like reincarnate and just make sure he never fucks it up. So he'll just like, he's prone to fuck ups, but he's also prone to redoing, replaying things, in Bill Murray fashion. So that shit will just go on and on forever. But I don't know. These are all pretty good relationships. I think my favorites of those three is probably Bulma and Vegeta.
I mean, that's the most like, at least this point in like the canon, like verified, like set in stone relationship, and they've gone through their trials, and maybe have had a kid or two to reinforce that relationship. So
My
yeah, that's a
Buduma.
good relationship though.
It's all about my Buduma.
Indeed, indeed.
All right. Well, I've got a whole bunch of doomed relationships here, and some of them are bordering on. They range from honest assessments to just foul humor. So, would you want to start us off, Mason?
I do, but I want to start off with my mindset going into this request.
Okay.
Because as Christian wrote, the rules are up for interpretation, which is not
Sure.
much to go on, literally
No.
nothing. And I was like, okay, what series has like a relationship that's presumably intact at the end of the series that has signs of like, you know, not lasting? Like why do I think they're not going to succeed? That isn't like too much of a spoiler to talk about the relationship. Like Angel Beats, for example, have characters that make it or don't make it to the end, and I don't want to ruin that for people. Or isn't like an obscure anime that like 7 people have seen, like Elemi, a relationship about a literal like telephone pole that falls in love with a electrical worker. Like no one's seen that,
What?
even though it is a great relationship that will fail. Like no one's seen that.
I've never heard of that.
It's like a 40-minute movie, and it's very wild, and it's about a telephone pole falling in love.
Weird.
And what is a relationship that I'm just not like salty about, like with like Nisekoi, where I'm like, oh, he picked the wrong girl, that's why it's gonna fail. Like, so which one do I want to start with? And I think the first, once again, very loose definition of relationship, but from all of Lupin the Third, Lupin and Fujiko Mine, these two masters who have just kind of been on this like coy relationship, on again, off again thing for decades at this point. They're just too selfish. They're just too much about the prize that they can get. And while they certainly lean on each other and become partners at times, they're too antagonistic. You really can't trust her. And without trust, a relationship is just, I don't want to say it, but doomed to fail.
She's just like Pancake and I were playing Spider-Man, the DLC last night, and she's just like the Black Cat character, who's just like, you can't trust her for 5 seconds. She's just gonna, convince you that she's doing the right thing or whatever, and then the last second just totally fucks you over. It's just the exact same character, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before you know it, Lupin's like,
and Batman. Yeah, you just can't.
Before you know it, Lupin's like checking her cell phone in the middle of the night, like he's tiptoeing through the bedroom, trying to guess her passwords and all this, and it's like it's just a fucking mess. But but it's like if he keeps letting her fuck him over like that, that's his fault. It's happened at least 100 times already. Like, come on, man, it's a joke at this point.
Exactly. As cute as they are together, and as much as I want them to succeed, it's never gonna happen. So, boom, first one down. What do you got?
Well, like I said, some of these all range from the absurd to the borderline offensive to totally rational. But the first one I have here, and there's a lot of these, is of course our friends Haru and Ren from Super Lovers. And I will say I'm gonna have to play this drop for myself because I actually remembered the name of Haru and Ren without actually having to reference it at all. I remembered both of their names. I can't even find the fucking shame drop. Is it even on the soundboard? Oh well, I guess I'll spare myself from the. I just boo myself. It's fine.
We need Caroline here.
Boo myself. It's fine. Yeah, boo Mitsugi. It's like, how do you remember Haru and Ren from Super Lovers from 5 years ago? But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Maybe 16-year-olds shouldn't be hitting on 8-year-olds, and probably 24-year-olds shouldn't be having sexual relationships with 16-year-olds either. But I really just think that this relationship won't last, and it is up to interpretation. But Haru is going to he's going to straight up end up going to jail eventually for all this, because, and he's probably going to get his ass beat in prison too, because, I don't think sexual predators really have it very easy in jail. But I don't know. Super Lovers, just like, it's bizarre as fuck. He's like a grown ass adult, and this kid's still like, trying to figure out how to do algebra. Like, it's really fucking bizarre. What were they thinking? Honest to God, what studio is that? I gotta look this shit up. You've seen Super Lovers, I assume.
I have not, because
Good for you. Good for you.
I need to say the beacon of purity of this podcast.
It's Studio Dean. Of course it is. Of course it is.
I was about to make some joke
Oh,
like, at least Studio Dean is better than
God.
whatever studio put that out.
Jesus.
I stand mistaken.
It's disturbing as hell. And this shit got a sequel. Who did the sequel? Who had enough balls to take up the sequel and go, this is an anime that needs 12 more episodes of inappropriate content.
What's
And
it
the
called?
sequel
Too
was done
Super
by
For You?
Wait for it, Studio Dean did the sequel.
Hey, they're following through on their mistakes. You gotta admire that.
This is just the promo art of this makes me want to cringe. It's like very, very frightening shit. Okay, moving on from that, Mason.
Oh, sure. We'll go through mine and we'll finish up yours after we go through all of mine. We're not, you know what I mean. Anyway, next one, kind of a spoiler because it is a romance show, but Toradora, Taiga and Takasu or Ryuji, the whole show is them getting together in a relationship with moments that convince me that they are going to be a terrible couple down the line. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not a big fan of the characters themselves, but I can't see them putting up with one another past like a certain age if they don't mature a bit more. And I know there's a lot of fans of the show who are like, "Oh no, they're great together," but I don't see it. I just Taiga's so annoying, and I think Ryuji, despite his infinite patience,
who's more annoying in that relationship?
Taiga.
I see.
The Palm Tiger. I think if she doesn't just mature, get her act together a bit, I think she will drive him up the wall, and in college he'll just be like, okay, enough's enough. Like I need some space, lady. And I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see him.
You mean an anime with immature characters?
Don't say.
This is so shocking. I'm gonna skip over my next one because it's just too of low hanging fruit and too obvious. But the next one is a very recent sort of thought in our minds, and that's Legoshi and Haru from Beastars. This shit is not going anywhere. I
actually had this on my list as well, so I'm glad. I'm glad you agree.
Legoshi is way more likely to just eat Haru than he is to, to whip out his little wolf peepee and put it to work. I'm actually, his huge wolf peepee would probably just rip her apart because he's literally like 5 times her size. And I can just see her like going to the vet to get fixed up because, I mean, she's a rabbit, so they're rabbits. Like they don't go to doctors; they go to vets, right? Pretty much.
That's true.
I mean, also, based on what I saw in that anime, she's not that unlikely to just straight up cheat on him anyway. Because I think that was like her whole character, was it not? She was basically like,
I mean, she was promiscuous but she wasn't in a relationship before, like, her actions. Like, she was just being a free spirit rabbit. So it was all forgivable. And we assume that since they've entered some sort of relationship that she's been faithful.
Well, I think
just inherently he sees her less as a partner and more of just like an obsession or like the ideal of the type of animal he's trying to protect more than
I think he sees her as a pelt.
That's a nice hat you got there.
It's a very nice hat. Oh, really? This is my ex-girlfriend, Haru. Haru, say hello. Her like face is hanging off the side of the hat. It's like he's like down. He turns his head so that the face is facing forward, and he like plays with like the under part of her chin to make it look like her jaw's moving. Oh, hello, I'm Haru. Just like his fucking dead as shit hanging off the side of his hat because I mean, based on what I saw in Beastars, these like the herbivores, their limbs are made out of like paper mache. Like they just kind of like shake hands too hard and their arms pop off like Mr. Potato Head. So Haru's about as frail as looks about as frail as any animal in that entire show. So he could like fucking sneeze too hard in his sleep and rip her arms off. So that shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah, not long term at least.
No, definitely not. Anyway, poor Haru.
Next up, I have essentially every relationship in Naruto. All of Naruto is just chock full of characters that get together where you're like, that is not going to last. I mean, you got Naruto and Hinata, it's not really a spoiler, but whatever. Sasuke and Sakura, like all these characters get together and you're just like, nope, nope, just not a chance. Either because of just weird like one side affections, weird like oh they're just gone half the time, weird it's just you don't see it. It's the polar opposite of some other long running shonens, like you mentioned with Vegeta and Bulma, where it's just like no.
It's all the guy characters in this one. Like Naruto is such a dipshit, and like who I don't know who would want to be with him, honestly, with his like weird eyes and his fucking like little faux whiskers on his face, and he's such a dipshit. And then you know, Sasuke is such a brooding little piece of shit. Like he's just so difficult to deal with. Like he just hates everything all the time, and is so just he'd be such a drag to hang out with. It's like, hey, Sasuke, look how beautiful the sun is today and the flowers are blooming. It's definitely springtime now. And he's like, fuck this, fuck my brother, fuck my family.
I think he actually just like leaves most of the time. He's just gone for like months out of the year. And she's just like, I'll wait for him because I have dependency issues. So Louis the cat in the chat is saying Shinkamaru and Tamari, or Shikamaru, was a good match. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying all of them.
I don't know. Sakura could have done a lot better.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't disagree.
Big sad.
I wish I could say more about that. I don't know enough about Naruto to know every relationship that happens in that one, but.
And I haven't followed up with Boruto at all to have any idea.
It's a good man. It's a good man right there.
Ignorance is bliss.
I gave up on this anime. We were watching it like during breakfast for a while, but it just got too frustrating. And that's Kimagure Orange Road, Madoka and Kyosuke. It's just never going to happen. They're never going to end up together. I don't even have to watch the whole rest of the show to know that's not going to happen. We got about 30 fucking episodes into this, and I just know that they're never going to end up hooking up or a couple or anything. They're never going to kiss. They're never going to, they're never going to be rolling around in the sheets. It's never going to happen. Too much pussyfooting. Kyosuke is just way too much of a coward, and it's just very frustrating. Honestly, Madoka is probably one of the hottest anime characters that's ever existed. She's like 100% lock it in, a sex symbol of anime from like the 80s, for sure. There's no reason why a girl like Madoka even needs to give a thought to a loser like Sosuke or Kyosuke. He's just never going to... And plus, he's not even faithful. He's like always fucking around on her with that stupid blonde girl.
Yeah, that was like one of my least favorite parts. It was like Hikaru, something like that.
He's and she's a victim of this whole thing too. He's a piece of shit. Kyosuke's a piece of shit. Hikaru is too like bubbly and cute to end up like being dragged around by the nose by Kyosuke. And Madoka is way too hot to be, and talented too. She's way too hot and talented to even like give him a second look. So I don't know how.
International sax symbol.
Yeah, she's a sax symbol. Come on, the chick plays sax, and she's like rocking out in the opening in her dress in like the nightclub. She's way, way beyond Kyosuke's league. They're never going to end up doing anything. There's a ton of characters like this. I could literally rattle off 100 character pairs where it's just never going to happen. Like Nadu and whatever the fucking guy from Love Hina is. Like it just goes on and on. There's also a lot of pairings where like the character just dies. Like like it's never going to last because this fucking person dies at the end. But
I mean, I don't know if that's really their fault. Like there's certain.
Well, it's not, but it is doomed to fail, Mason. I mean, come on.
But it already failed. It's not a future tense, like looking into the future. It's the dude's dead. Like it's hard stop. It's over.
Hard stop, more like hard stop.
Yeah, very true. I guess there are some relationships that pursue past the grave, but I didn't write any of those down.
They're probably not. Well,
did you have one in mind that you wanted to bring up?
No, it just sounds like necrophilia. I don't really know. Like I'm gonna drag this person's dead body around and keep her under a heated blanket so she feels like she's warm, or he.
Yeah.
I don't know who that would be. I don't know of any anime like that. Anyway, what do you got?
The last one I had was my haha funny relationship, and that is Kaiji and his relationship with money.
Oh yes.
And having any, because as we all know, Kaiji, despite being a good boy and trying his best, he just can't help but gamble and fall into debt. and
Jeez.
his relationship with money will always fail, and he'll always be working on like a slave ship, gambling with like his teeth left in his mouth to play another like game of throw the dice in the bowl and get cheated again and lose half his skin or whatever it is. And as much as he loves money, he just can't hold on to it. So yeah, doomed to fail.
I haven't seen Kaiji, but that sounds like a fucked up sort of like addiction. He needs to get like some help.
It's he's in a tough spot, so this is an uphill battle for him.
All right, I guess I'm going to backpedal here. Dragon Ball, Goku and Chi-Chi, they are doomed to fail. Chi-Chi is just horrible to Goku all the time. She's a total bitch. Goku's never around. They're not good for each other. Like, Chi-Chi's like borderline abusive to Goku, so I can see why he wouldn't want to be around, but really it's just because he's off like training or some shit, so he's never there. So she's like...
she just wants someone a little more dependable who's present in the lives of their offspring, and it's just so happens she married the person who's off 360 days a year saving the world.
It's a rough life with Chi-Chi, okay? I'm actually going to put this one on Goku mostly. I mean, Goku, he's never there. Chi-Chi she's getting lonely, all in that little tiny house that's in the middle of nowhere. There's no neighbors. She's getting lonely. Suddenly, like, the mailman's starting to look good. She's like, the mailman. The mailman came by. I'm all alone. I haven't touched another warm body in 50 years because Goku's off training with Birusu and Whis, and the pool boy, he's looking good. and to make matters worse, Gohan and Goten absolutely take after Goku. Like, they look exactly like Goku. They don't look like Chi-Chi at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
his seed is so strong.
He's
so alien that it just takes over.
His Saiyan seed, like, they look like Goku. They fight. All they want to do is fight. They're always wearing orange. Pretty soon she's got like PTSD. She's all like, "Oh my god, orange." She hates Halloween. She's just, oh my god. And before you know it, it's just a tragedy. Before you know it, Goku comes home. He hasn't been home in like 5 years. He comes home, and he like opens the door, and she's not there. And there's just like divorce papers on the table, and
It's like, damn it, if only I could read, I would know what these papers mean.
He can't read it. He's got to go ask Piccolo. He's like, "Oh, Goku, this is not good. You can always come live up." Korin like comes down. He's like, "Goku, you can always live on Korin's lookout with Yajirobe." That's when you've hit rock bottom. You're like hanging out with Yajirobe. Oh my god. Eating jelly donuts all day. He lets himself go. He gets like really fat. Oh, jeez.
I mean, if you can't fusion with your significant other, is it really even a relationship? I think Goku's in a better relationship with Vegeta than Chi-Chi.
If you can't fuse with Chi-Chi and Kamehameha, you're just not getting it done.
You're just missing out on life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Anyway. I
agree.
That one's fucking doomed to fail, and that has always been the case. So, but Chi-Chi was she was terrible to Goku even way back in Dragon Ball, and he was around then. So maybe he doesn't go home because he doesn't like Chi-Chi. I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of therapy that needs to be done there. Next, I got a bunch of these. I got a whole bunch of these.
Yeah, so go for it.
Rurouni Kenshin and Kaoru, that relationship's fucked up. It's a nice relationship, but it's not really gonna happen for them. I mean, Kenshin has a history of getting his girls killed. We all know that. So Kaoru, be warned. And spoiler alert, I'm gonna drop a spoiler here for the OVA. Kenshin himself does die pretty young of an illness at the end of the last Kenshin OVA. So that relationship. If you suffer through like 40 episodes of horrible like filler at the end of like the Kyoto arc and Rurouni Kenshin, you do get to see some like cute Kenshin and Kaoru moments like on the beach and shit at the end of that series, which is really like some kind of a reward for your torment. Like Naruto doesn't give you shit at the end of all that filler. At least Rurouni Kenshin gives you at least a little bit of like satisfaction, but Kenshin's just gonna die. I think he dies of like tuberculosis or something, which is so lame.
Out of all the things he could be killed by.
Yeah, no, he survives everything else. Spirited Away, Kohaku and Chihiro. That's just not going to happen. I mean, he's a dragon and she's like 8, so I don't know what the fuck the deal with that is.
What more do you need to say?
I don't know.
He's an ethereal, like, spirit of the skies, and she's just a kid who loses shoes.
Yeah, that shit ain't going to happen. Yeah. So, Nausicaa and anybody from Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, she's already married to, like, the bugs in the forest. She's, like, way more likely to just, like, you know, be like, oh, sorry. I know that you love me very deeply, but I'm already married to like this dragonfly here, and you know, this like piece of shell on the ground. Like, go fuck yourself. I don't need you, man. And Tonikaku Kawaii. I already gone like extreme ranting about this, but it just feels so good to just let it all out. But NASA and Tsukasa, this is not happening for them. This marriage will never last. It was pretty clear to me that neither of them were really ready to be married in that show, because like NASA can't even handle the sight of a woman, let alone like an intimate touching moment in bed or snuggling or anything. And
he's building up his resistance.
Oh
he's getting there.
And it's like most people like get married, like they have like a reason. Like, I don't know, to get engaged after like 11 minutes, you don't even know the person. Like you don't even know anything about them. Like they could have like crazy parents. They could have like, you know, a horrible illness. Like I don't know. They could be like psychotic, like whatever.
Counterpoint. He hit his head really hard.
Really hard. Yeah. Really hard. And yeah, I don't know, that shit. People, I got so much shit for that review, but like, honestly, it's just not going to happen for them. So it goes on and on. Like there's so many relationships like where characters are like Clannad. It's just not going to happen for those characters. Oh, it's just not going to happen because that poor guy in Clannad, he really gets it bad. That's what is his name? I'm going to like light a candle for him. What is that fucking character's name?
I don't even know.
His name is Tomoya. Tomoya, man, he gets it bad. Like, boy, that guy, he's never going to get into a relationship again. And he's like 22, honestly, at the end of that. Wow. That's good. That's the kind of shit. He's going to be like fixing telephone poles for the rest of his life. And maybe he'll fall in love with a telephone pole because at least the telephone pole won't die. Won't die on him. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, I had some other shows like Nana, for example, where the characters were just like, they're in a universe where it isn't nice to them on a relationship level, or they just go after the wrong guys. And even though there isn't a set relationship, I'm just like, oh, it's not going to happen with the characters we've seen so far. But it's, you know, there's some good relationships out there, and it happens. I'm very interested in like Dorohedoro. There are some great relationships there that will last forever. So that's, I guess, my positive contribution to the good relationship category.
I'm trying to see how old Tomoya is in Clannad After Story, but it doesn't really say on here. It just says his birthday's August 30th. But there's so much info on this website. Like, does it really say his birthday's August 30th in the show? Does it really say he's 173 centimeters tall? Like, I really don't think so.
I mean, because it's based on a visual novel, it's probably in there.
Maybe. Anyway, but yeah, it's there were, like I said, there were a lot more of these, but that's about all the humor I had in me today, I think. So
yeah, and we didn't want to get like too spoilery with like, oh, this character from this show marries this one, and you're like, well, thanks for ruining watching the entire series. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I felt like I wanted to hold back. I think listeners though had a ton of good things if I was smart enough to look ahead of time on social media. But let's really quick. Let's really quick dash on over to Twitter, see if anyone responded.
Yeah.
No, we don't gotta. We don't gotta.
Maybe next time.
That's what Caroline does so well that we forget to do. So
yeah, we're not Caroline here. We are incapable. We're incapable of remaining connected to our fans when Caroline is not around. So
unless it's in the Discord, it's I don't know how the internet works.
But
yeah, we'll take a quick news break and then we'll come back with a whole bunch more segments. So stay tuned. The Takarazuka Review is currently composed of 5 troupes, each of which is led by a pair of actresses. What is the name of the distinction given to these leading roles? We'll let you know the answer to this trivia in just a bit. See you there.
Yeah, the answer is not very creative.
No.
You're killing me.
Neither was the question.
Hey, anime addicts, let's get the show on the road. It's time for your anime news break, and we're going to lead off with some COVID news, because why not? Looks like 80% of the 47 prefectural capitals in Japan said they have either changed or intend to change their plans to vaccinate their local residents against COVID amid shortages of vaccines, which is very bad news for any of you, including myself, who have plans to travel to Japan sometime in the next 12 months. Surveyed local governments, 37 of them said that they revised plans, including suspending, delaying, or scaling back reservations by residents. A total of 33 cities, or 70%, said that the amount of doses allocated for July still remains at less than half of the desired amount. With some cities, including Nagasaki, said they were only getting even 20% of the doses that they expected to receive, which is pretty shocking for a very developed, advanced country like Japan. 5 city governments said they plan to push back to delay the second shots. The central government recommends that people get their second shots 3 weeks after the first, but they said that the second shot could be done up to 6 weeks later, so it looks like they may push this back. Survey results came as local governments have been complaining that they were encouraged by the administration under Yoshihide Suga to rapidly expand vaccination capacity, only to be told that the supplies could not keep up. And it has not been looking too good for Suga. Suga's cabinet support rate has hit an all-time low of only 35.9% ahead of the Olympics. And of course, with the vaccine shortages, this all coming from the Japan Times. Next up, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 8 ends its 10-year serialization. So if you're a fan of JoJo, well, Part 8 is over, apparently. Araki began drawing Part 8 back in 2011, and it's been running for 10 years and has shipped 26 volumes. The 26th volume shipped on May 19th. JoJo Lion, as it's known, won the grand prize at the 2013 Japan Media Rights Festival. I'm sure this will be made into an anime before too long. So just hang in there, look forward to it, and you'll have your JoJo Lion anime sometime, eventually. Next up, light novel Isekai Yakyoku has received the TV anime Parallel World Pharmacy. The light novel is getting greenlit. After losing his little sister to an incurable disease, world-famous medical researcher Kanji Yakutani gave it his all to cure patients, dedicated his life to inventing new medicines. After working himself to death at age 31, the former pharmacist wakes up as a 10-year-old whose body has been struck by lightning. He discovers that he has been reincarnated into a medieval world of Falma, a child of the respected de Medicis family, or he will no doubt be a pervert of his past life. Just kidding, maybe. We will have to look out for this one. Sounds like an interesting premise. Another isekai anime where an adult is born again as a child is coming soon. And lastly in the news, One Piece is doing a crossover with Where's Waldo, of all things. They're going to be doing a crossover on July 19th. That's going to ship in Weekly Shonen Magazine, Weekly Shonen Jump's issue. It looks like the account posted that a familiar character from Where's Wally has wandered into the world of One Piece. And on Twitter, there was a post made with a picture of the promo of Where's Waldo and Luffy kind of, hugging a little bit, sort of. So if you're a fan of Where's Waldo or One Piece, they're going to be a match made in heaven, apparently, coming up here on July 19th at Weekly Shonen Jump. This is Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, time to get back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, the AAA podcast, is always trying to bring you new and exciting ways to enjoy our content, and now we have an exclusive member-only RSS feed on the site that is going to let you access our hentai episodes, our Hobby Addicts, and our After Parties episodes, all from your favorite mobile apps. That's an additional 8 episodes of content per month just for you, and you can listen to it through Apple Podcasts app, you can listen to it through Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Overcast FM, Downcast FM, etc., etc., onward and onward. So many mobile apps for you to choose from. If you were holding back on supporting the podcast because you didn't like listening to our extra content through our website, now you can get it and listen to it the same way you enjoy all your other podcasts. So pitch in, help out the podcast, do a good thing, and enjoy all the extra content we have for you. Just go to aaapodcast.com/join, and you will get all this extra content and an exclusive member RSS feed for you to enjoy. That's aaapodcast.com/join, and support the podcast.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
When I was growing up, I grew up in like West Virginia in the mountains, and we would spend most of our free time hiking and like finding dead deer skeletons and all this crazy shit that like kids do in the woods, right?
Wait, what about the anime cliche of a pile of porn?
Cue Kazuo talking about like the porn mags and there's always a sofa in the woods somewhere, and there's always porn magazines under the cushion. It's such like they're like shamefully hiding in the woods, like rubbing one out on like a bench somewhere in the woods. This is Caroline's fault, Mason. I see you shaking your head no, but
okay, I just said porn. I did not get graphic with.
Well,
you knew where Mitz's head is at. You knew he was gonna take this. He's so loopy. His inhibitions are at an all-time low.
Porn magazines only have one use in this world, and it's not like reading material. Okay.
This is a very adult episode.
I didn't say that you whip your stuff out and start going to town on it.
Well, now you are.
I did, but I censored myself. Okay. Well, Skylife and Kenny, welcome back to the Animax Notes podcast and the Sound of Anime.
You are listening to West Virginia.mp3.
You're listening to West Virginia, WPX57, here in Huntington, West Virginia, where the moonshine is good and the deer jerky is even better.
Do they call it West Virginia?
No, I don't know.
Oh, good.
All right. The Takarazuka Review is currently composed of 5 troops, each of which is led by a pair of actresses. What is the name of the distinction given to these leading roles? It's very creative. I could not have come up with such a name myself, but they're called the Top Star. Get that. Can you believe it?
There you go. I was trying to think of some trivia for it. I was like, oh, I could ask, like, what are the name of the 5 troops? And I was like, no one, maybe like 5 people actually know what that is. But Top Star, enough people may have seen an anime about this review that might know it. So there you go. It was kind of a last minute addition.
What was that show called that we talked about?
Review Starlight.
Review Starlight. That's what it was. A long time ago, seems like.
I think it was like Shoujo Kageki Review Starlight, and we have a show this season called Shoujo Kageki. So, or Kageki Shoujo.
It's back.
It's back. That's why it's the trivia question.
It's back, baby. All right. Well, it's time for everybody's favorite segment on the podcast, so we can head over to the podcast corner over here on... If I can figure out how to get this screen working here.
You got it. Let's do it.
Nope. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. There we go. It's time for Does Mitsugi's Mom Know? The game show that pits Mitsugi's unassuming mother against anime's most basic questions. Now here are your hosts, the Anime Addicts. Well, by God, it's time for Does Mitsugi's Mom Know? The game show where we pit an unassuming listener upon the chaos that is my mother's anime knowledge. And who do we have on the phone today? Who is the latest victim of my mother?
Edgar.
Edgar. And where are you calling from, Edgar?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. Have you played Does Mitsugi's Mom Know before? I feel like we've had you call in once before.
No, this is my first time.
All right. Well, why is it exactly that you feel like you're going to win Does Mitsugi's Mom Know today? I feel like I need to ask that from now on. I need to give a bit of a pep talk. I have a very low win ratio on this podcast, so what's it going to be?
Yeah, I'd say that I like to think of myself as a risk taker. I like challenges, and
Ooh.
that be a natural winner. Don't want to brag.
Oh, wow. And you say you're
I
a
like this
natural winner.
confidence.
I
Damn.
tend to
Boldness.
be.
All right, well, we're going to find out. I know my mother's been beefing up on her anime knowledge. I heard that recently she watched Danganronpa, of all things. So I was like, why that, of all things, would you watch that? But hey, you just never know. So on Does Mitsugi's Mom Know, we are going to play for you 5 questions if you get that far. And we will see if you can predict whether or not my mother knows the answers to questions that for most anime fans would be quite easy, but for her, you just never know. Sometimes she just pull a random answer out of her apron, and then some other times she just falls flat on her face to the easiest question. So you got to get 3 out of 5 correct to win this game, and you'll be walking away with probably a new Ford Focus because we're sponsored by
Nice.
Ford. It's going to be great.
Calm.
Yeah, and then if we'll make a few phone calls, we'll get that Ford Focus upgraded to I don't know, at least like a Ford Explorer or something like a little better. But
Oh, he's a Texas boy. We got to go trucks.
oh yeah, we'll get you like a Ford. We'll get you like a Ford. Well, like what do people drive?
Which is like, it's like, I don't know. Trucks.
It's gonna be
Right.
good. Whatever it is, it's gonna be good. So, are you ready for your first question?
Indeed, I am.
All right, let's see here.
Good luck, lucky player. With me, it's you never know.
I have a feeling that you're gonna need it today. Trigun was a popular anime from my childhood. In it, what color is Vash the Stampede's cloak? Ooh. It's I don't know. I probably saw 100 anime characters cosplayed as Vash in my life, and his cloak is red every time. So I don't know. But does she know that Vash's cloak is red?
I say she knows it.
Do you think she does or she does not?
He does.
All right, my mother, she hung around the TV long enough when I was a child to know that Vash the Stampede is goofy as shit, but also wearing red all the time. Am I locking you in?
You are.
Trigun was a popular anime from my childhood. In it, what color is Vash the Stampede's cloak?
Vash, the Stampede?
Yeah, he's the main character.
He has like a bright blue cloak.
No, sorry. It's bright red cloak.
I almost said that.
I thought you were going to get it.
I almost said red.
Well, Edgar.
I
You
was
still-
so confident that she was going to get that right.
I mean, it's pretty
Same.
easy.
I can't even think of a character with a blue coat besides like Kaiba from like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, facts.
Maybe some of like the Full Metal Alchemist characters, like Roy Mustang, I think wears blue.
Good point. Yeah, all the military.
You still feeling confident, Edgar? Because you now need to get
Definitely.
3 out of 4. You're still confident.
All I do is exude confidence.
He's
Exactly.
a strong competitor we have here, Mason.
Love it. I love to hear it. Good luck, my dude. I'm sending the mojo your way.
I'm rooting for you because I'm tired of not giving away Ford Focuses. So, are you ready for the next question?
Yes, sir.
What kind of dog do the brothers from the anime Space Brothers have? I actually have a mug downstairs that has the dog on it. One of my students, when I was teaching in Japan, gave me the mug because they knew I loved Space Brothers. It is a pug. That's the answer. But, does my mother know?
Mitz, are you saying you have a pug mug?
I do. He's wearing like he's wearing like a dog spacesuit.
Oh, it's adorable.
It's fantastic, yeah.
I'm
Edgar,
gonna say she does know.
she knows that it's a pug.
Yep.
He's very cute. His name's Apple. I don't know where that name came from, but... All right.
Probably Apollo.
That's what I was thinking.
Show me potato salad. What kind of dog do the brothers from the anime Space Brothers have?
They have a beagle.
I'm sorry, no, it's a pug.
Oh,
Edgar, What is going on here?
You and me both are asking the same question.
Well, it's all a flip of the coin, if you will. So, I'm gonna, we're gonna have to call a pinch hitter in here to give you a little bit of a shoulder rub, loosen you up a little bit, give you some Gatorade, get you back out there. Are you ready for question number 3?
Ready.
The new Demon Slayer film takes place primarily inside what mode of transportation? Train is in the title of the movie, but does my mother know that? It's do or die here. Your back is against the wall. But you're scrappy. I can sense it.
I'm gonna say she does know.
She knows?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Am I locking you in? She knows that it's a train.
You're indeed locking me in.
Let's take a ride on the Mugen train, people. The new Demon Slayer film takes place primarily inside what mode of transportation?
A train.
That's right.
Oh.
It's a train. In fact, train is in the title of the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called Mugen Train.
Oh.
She's like, oh, she had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Hey, third time's a charm, though. Coming in clutch with the confidence that she knows every single time. It'll eventually work out.
Well, it's like,
but yeah, law of big numbers, right?
it can only be so many things. Like, it's either a car or it's a boat, but like, you can never have a movie inside of a car the whole time. That would be so ridiculous. So, all right, you got some people in our Twitch chat rooting for you. Edgar, are you ready for question 4? It's crunch time from here on, buddy.
Yes, sir. Bring it on.
The story of Vinland Saga originates in what European country? Season 2 is coming. I think everybody will watch it.
For sure.
It's Iceland, by the way. I think you probably knew that. But
Yeah. I'm gonna say she doesn't know.
my mother, she's not very familiar with geography. And that's what you're saying.
Sorry to take shots at her. That's what I'm saying.
We're from West Virginia. I mean, it is what it is. All right, she doesn't know. The story of Vinland Saga originates in what European country?
Sweden.
That's sort of close. Iceland.
Oh.
Wrong. Scandinavian.
It's sort of close.
Is Iceland Scandinavian?
I think it's considered Nordic.
I'm looking this up. Scandinavian countries includes.
She bounced right on that answer, though. She did not hesitate for a second.
Right. She was hurt.
Scandinavian countries includes Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. So there you have it.
Okay, so Scandinavian, yeah.
All right. Well, wow, you have made quite the comeback. Your odds have improved significantly, and you are now on the precipice of history. Are you ready for the final question?
I am ready.
In the history of Trunks, which is a Dragon Ball Z OVA, who is the only combat-ready character not deceased at the end of the movie? Pretty much everybody dies in that movie, but one character does not die.
Right.
And I think it's my favorite thing of any of the Dragon Ball content. I think it's quite good.
It is
but Edgar,
quite good.
does my mother know? Does she know jack shit about Dragon Ball?
Is that the person who survives? Jack shit?
No, Trunks survives.
Name?
Trunks survives. He goes back in time to warn our people or whatever. That's how the Android saga starts. What do you think, Edgar?
I'm gonna say she doesn't know.
She does not know. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Am I locking you in?
Yes, you are.
He's so confident.
He is. I love it. For the record, I would have answered the same way Edgar has for every single question so far.
Wow.
So I feel like I personally have stakes in this victory or defeat. So I'm on the edge of my seat here.
I don't think I could beat my mother in this game. All right, here we go.
Wow.
In the history of Trunks, which is a Dragon Ball Z OVA, who is the only combat-ready character not deceased at the end of the movie?
Trunks.
That's right.
Jeez.
All the rest of them are dead. Sort of like you, metaphorically, Edgar, although I do love you very much. Man, we just can't get winners in this game. What are we going to do here?
It wasn't for lack of confidence, though.
It wasn't.
He had it. He had it in spades.
Listen, Edgar, you didn't win today, but I think our listeners are winners because you brought a great deal of entertainment value to the audience, so I am going to have to thank you very much for elevating our content today.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
You didn't want the Ford Focus anyway, I could tell.
Yeah, Ford, come on.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that shit.
Horse guy, for sure.
We'll get the Lambo next time you're on.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Edgar. See you
Thanks
next
so
time.
much.
Uh-huh. Take care.
Man, he was so close. Comeback. He was on the precipice.
If I know anything about this game, it's that it's very difficult, and people often lose when it comes to does Mitsugi's mom know. So,
Oh, look at that! Chad is getting a spoiler for the hentai episode coming up.
oh my gosh, it's because Mitz does not know how to operate
There you
Twitch
go.
very well, nor can he get the cameras correct. It is a
Yeah,
disaster.
behind the scenes. You know, you mentioned the victim of the Does Mitsugi's Mom Know game. A little
Yep.
behind the scenes. I guess it's not behind the scenes because anyone on Discord can see it. But the way I had the roles sorted to like look for people play next, we have 2 levels. We have the Does Mitsugi's Mom Know sacrifice, which is people about to be placed at the altar. And then when they are defeated, they're the victim. So as you said correctly, Edgar is now a victim of your mom's wrath, and hate to see it. That is a much larger group on the Discord than the Does Mitsugi's Mom Know champion role, which is only a few people.
There's a statistical improbability occurring here because really about 40% of people should win this game based on stats because it's 3 out of 5, and so you got only about a 40% chance of winning, I think. But I feel like 8 out of 10 people lose. So there's a statistical significance occurring. I don't know what it is. It's like the pressure of being on the podcast live or something. But people just, they fall apart when the pressure's on. Is what I'll say.
Yeah, it's what scientists call the Betsy paradox, and
Wow.
it's just a wormhole of space and mathematics that just confounds all.
All right. Well, let's keep the show moving here.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
That's right. We were doing 2 segments or rotating segments this week because, as I said last time, there's a lot of movies coming out, and I am selfish and want to talk about them. So this this next one just came out in the States this very same week on a limited theatrical run, but actually came out last year in Japan in December of 2020 at the very tail end of the year, and that is Josei, the Tiger and the Fish. This is a 100-minute long romantic comedy. It's a drama based on a short story. I believe it also had a live action movie that came out a couple years ago, which I have not seen, but I've heard is pretty solid. And it tells the story of Tsuneo, a hardworking university student who's working multiple jobs to fund his dream of research and study of aquatic life, particularly in Mexico. And from a chance detour he takes one day, he collides, more accurately, he's collided by Josei, a girl who, due to her inability to walk and controlling grandmother, is rarely allowed to leave the house and is kind of cooped up there all the time. The grandmother is looking for someone to watch over Josei to give her, some personal time. She hires Tsuneo to regularly come over and just be constantly berated, insulted, and degraded by this like bratty, infuriating, selfish shut-in whose fear of the outside world kind of manifests in shunning everyone who lives in it. But of course, as with all of these types of stories, or tsunderes, as archetypal as this one, it isn't long before Tsuneo and Josei kind of start to come to an understanding of one another and how each other views the world, leading to a semi-respectful friendship that might just blossom into something further. This is done by Studio Bones of multiple series acclaim. And first things first, this is an absolutely gorgeous film. For most of the film, and much better looking than it kind of needed to be. It's not as like mind-blowing visually as like Children of the Sea, for example, but it is still worth watching for the visuals if the story sounds like something that would be up your alley. The directing, as far as it goes, isn't crazy ambitious, but the composition of the frames and the tight editing make it a very solid piece on the production side. The first comparison that most people will have with this film is no doubt Violet Evergarden for the stellar production, the pacing, the atmosphere, the mood, and the latter of which is kind of strengthened by the fact that it has the same composer, California native Evan Cull, whose work on Violet Evergarden, this movie, and Appari Ranman has made him just a really solid person for music in the anime industry today. The second comparison is probably Masaki Yuasa's Ride Your Wave, which is another romance with oceany vibes, just surfing replaced with diving, as well as more like I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which is done by, it has like the same person suffering from a medical condition with some like young adult terror writing. And I say that last bit not as an insult, but it really is what one should expect from the story, as the plot of this is undoubtedly the weakest link. It is, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but it's very predictable in the setup, and the twists that kind of deprive the payoff. Characters often range from like one-dimensional to irritating, and there's just some like befuddlingly impractical moments, or just like eye-rolling cliche that kind of took me out of it. It has some nice moments of symbolism, like where Josei forces Tsuneo to like do tasks like find four-leaf clovers or count the number of like seams in the tatami mat, which kind of like puts him on all fours on the same level as her, which is effective, but it just makes her seem kind of like, it paints her in a very negative light, as well as her grandma, who just kind of locks up Josei with really no solid reasoning behind it. So it makes most of their interactions seem more scummy than sympathetic. Despite all my complaints, though, the show does manage to pull on your emotions and make you feel the sensations it wants to make you feel, which makes it inherently a success at what it's trying to do, kind of like Anohana, where you can see the numbers in the matrix of how it's like manipulating your emotions, but the feels still hit you. It's like feels of the North Star, where it's like, omae wa mo kanji teiru, and it's like, man, I feel the feels, and it succeeds on that regard. So Josei the Tiger and the Fish, if it sounds like up your alley, it's probably worth checking out. Once again, not a super strong recommendation, but visually it holds its own. And at only 100 minutes, it's not a bad use of your time. So that's all I had for it.
I almost played the drop, Mason.
What drop? Play the drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Well, another movie review brought to you by Masson. So the man just never runs out. Like
Hopefully
Josei
you're not
and
annoyed of it yet.
The Tiger and the Fish, a movie I've never heard of. So
yeah, I mean it's brand spanking new, and there's more movies to come. So tell me to stop if you don't find them interesting. But if not, we're gonna keep on rolling with them.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag. If you want to submit a mailbag, aaapodcast.com is the website. Bar along the top, baby, it says mailbag. While you're there, you can submit a topic request, you can submit a Shark Tank, you could submit an anime confessional, which we don't seem to get very many of, and makes it difficult to do that segment, because I'm only reading the outlandish shit that you guys submit. If it's just like something fairly sane, I'm not reading it. So if you're wondering where that segment went, I'm kind of waiting for someone to confess something really ridiculous. So,
get wild. Get
fucking wild.
When are we
That
gonna
was
get
the
someone
point.
so wild we're gonna have a hentai mailbag confessional? That's peak fiction.
Half of them are kind of that nature anyway. But it's like, I love you all, but if you write in, I haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, well, I'm like, well, it's not very entertaining for people to hear you say that. They'd rather hear you say like, 5 years ago, I stuffed a Full Metal Alchemist DVD straight up my ass. Like, that would be a little more entertaining. So, anyway, this mailbag's brought to you by Otaku Cop, a very good friend of mine. Second season savior, salutations AAA crew. I hope this mailbag finds you all well. I know that in the anime community, we have discussed shows that have had amazing first seasons and then fell off a cliff. Promised Neverland Season 2, Point Punch Man Season 2 are good examples. Or as I like to call them, the seasons that never happened. My question is, have you all encountered a show that had either a second season or second half of a season that saved a show for you? For me, I use Railgun Season 2 as an example. I look forward to your responses, and thank you for always making this old man's addiction worse. Railgun Season 2 is a good example. That, Railgun S is a really good second season, so with some fucking great theme songs. Holy shit. Mason, what do you think? Why don't you go first?
Well, I feel like you and I kind of approached this question the same way, where if a season 1 is really not good, it's very infrequent that we actually watch the second season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, why would you?
Exactly. It didn't really prove itself. So my list is all full of shows that were kind of just all right or moderately okay, and then I thought blossomed into something way better in the later seasons. First one, maybe a little controversial, but Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2 was leagues better than what came before it, in my opinion, and really, at the time where the whole series needed to prove itself for me to stay interested in it, it absolutely knocked it out of the park. Monogatari, particularly the Owari Monogatari arc, which is like the very end after like 5 seasons, it was always kind of like middling in like potential, and it really proved itself in that season. So, I mean, that alone probably saved my whole like mindset of that show. Ashita no Joe, classic show, one that inspired Megalobox. I was really not a fan of season 1, but I thought season 2 was massively better when Joe finally snaps out of him being just a loser, degenerate, just annoying person that kind of just is a pain to deal with. He was a lot more endearing, and I think that helped bolster that season. Gintama, obviously notorious for its slow start, but particularly when it went to HD, just having the 16:9 format instead of the 4:3 is when I noticed a marked improvement, and not just the visuals, but the comedy, and just now that it had an established character base, for them to start bouncing off one another really made the show the powerhouse that it is today. And finally, Natsume's Book of Friends. I thought it was always a pretty good show, but starting with season 3 all the way up to season 6 has been absolutely on another level. So those are all shows that were good enough for me to stay somewhat interested in them, and I'm glad I did for these payoffs. How about yourself?
Well, like I said, I do agree with the Railgun reference. It's Railgun Season 2 is really strong, and honestly, I don't think Railgun Season 1 is bad by any stretch, but 2 was probably a little better. I thought none of these shows really had bad first seasons. Like I said, if we already covered this, if it's got a really bad first season, chances are I'm not watching the second season, so I don't have a tremendous amount of examples of these, but you're much more likely to fall into the trap of a bad second season. I think that's pretty common thing for a lot of people. But Noragami Arigoto, the second season of that, is the first season of Noragami is good, but I thought the second season was quite a bit better. Clannad After Story, the first season of Clannad is kind of like this, like very arc-based sort of 4 or 5 episode things about different characters, and then the second season I think is where people like really remember Clannad for how much better the second season is, but also how like brutal it is to watch. It's just so sad because I don't know, key visual arts or whatever, they just love to like make people suffer. And also of a show I haven't talked about in a while, but it's rather good, Full Moon Osagashite, which is like I don't even know when this came out, probably like late 2000s. I'm just gonna look this up real quick. Full Moon got 2002 is it only, I guess it has 2 seasons, but like this, I thought the second half of this show is better than the first half. There's a lot of like build up and build up and build up in the first half of the show, and then the second half is like where it really gets into like the meat of it, and it's also really, really sad. It could be even more sad than.
I have never heard of this show, Mitz. Can you believe that?
Full Moon is a solid fucking show. I would definitely give it a shot if I were you.
Okay. Well,
it's a little long, but
put it on the watching list, boys. 52 episodes. Let's see how it goes.
It's definitely good. It's very depressing, so it's definitely sad. I mean, there's some sad as fuck shit in this anime, but second half was rather good, so people may enjoy it. So, yeah, boy, I stumped Mason.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a very 90s show, but like you said, early 2000s.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Also, Studio Dean. Studio Dean, go do something else. Go like.
Is this the studio episode where everything is just done by them?
Go have a barbecue or something. Studio Dean, like, Jesus. All right. Well, we have a lot of impressions to get to, so why don't we just jump right to it?
Today, we're going to be doing impressions.
Impression time! Believe it!
All right. I am very unimpressed with the summer season so far. I think it's extremely mediocre. I'm not going to lie. I've seen every episode of all of my shows that are available, and all of my shows are amazingly mediocre. So, with that said, Mason, you want to go first?
I would love to. The first one, I'm going to just go down my list. We'll start with my number 6 pick, because my number 7 pick has only come out with 1 episode so far. But my number 6 pick was Kanojo Mo Kanojo, aka Girlfriend. It tells the story of Naoya, who was big fan, in love with Saki since grade school. She finally accepts his feelings. He's like, wahoo, we're a couple now. And then like the next day, this cute girl named Nagisa confesses to him and makes like a 15-stack bento ultimate luxury box to prove her love. And she's like, I always loved you, and I've worked my hardest over like the last 2 years to become like the best girlfriend for you, so I'm confessing. And he's like, well, I admire your effort, and you are a cutie pie, so you know what? I can't turn you down, so let's just be in a 3-way relationship. Are you guys cool with that? And Saki is like, not really. And he's like, yeah, but I'll try really hard. And that's what the show is. So the show starts off, like the very first scene has these like polka dot patterning on everything with these bright colors. It looks out of like Kuchu Barranco. And it was like really bold and interesting. I was like, okay, I can dig it. And then it like continues onto the next scene and it looks horrendous. And I was like, oh no, is the entire show going to be like this? And thankfully, it immediately disappears. But then it makes me question, why did it carry over at all? Like, why did they keep it going if they were just going to remove it? And I think the whole show has me questioning, why does this even exist? Because from moment one, it looks very cheap. Incredibly stiff movements from like the main characters and completely unanimated background characters, aka mannequins. Like it's so static that obviously, you know, a show like this isn't going to rely on its visual splendor and sakuga to make you fall in love with it, but it looks not good. It's done by Tezuka Productions. It's based on the manga. I haven't checked out the manga, so I don't know how that looks, but it doesn't look good. And I think the show was going for like an awkward, hey, it's our first time in love, first time couple, like that's where the comedy is going to come from. But it really only lands like the awkward part of it. And the show is constantly saying about itself like, oh, it's so weird, like what a pain, which is how I felt watching it. Like it's just one of those comedies where the punchline is just the nervous screaming by the main character or by the other main character. Like all of which are the same gags you've seen 1,000 times in every rom-com, just with even less of an iota of originality. It's like, well, since we're doing polygamy, we can just reuse all the same jokes in a different context. And it's not good. The show like had some promise in like a very solid voice cast, but with writing as bad as this, like everything reverberated like nails on a chalkboard. It was rough. Like I was going in expecting like Rent-A-Girlfriend levels or like quintessential quintuplets levels, shows that like I'm not a huge fan of, but I found to be leagues better than this show. Like this was a new level of painful, even
Wow.
before like the polyamorous elements were like awkwardly contrived and like a tale of like the why not both girl gone awry. Like I have no doubt many people will enjoy this show and good for them, but this was like unwatchable. Like I could not make it to episode 3. This is a fail. Uh, but if you're curious, it's on Crunchyroll. It's just not my thing, and I'm sorry to no one.
It is a travesty.
Well, the girls in it have extremely cute designs. I'll give them that. Especially the redheaded girl is very cute. So.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure there's some fan service that will float people's boats, but I don't know. I just couldn't do it.
That is the 4th most watched show of the season, so that's a good start.
Listen, my fear is that we're going to be like, you know what? It's not a great season. Let's let the listeners decide more shows, and this might be one of them. And God help me if it passes.
All right, knock them up, set them up, knock them down. I'm gonna delete that one off the dock because it's a big old fail. Next up is Scarlet Nexus, which is of course one of mine. I actually have quite a lot of perspective about this anime because I also played through the demo, and you played through it as well on PlayStation.
I did.
This anime actually has a game that came out too, and the game has a free-to-play demo. If you want to play the demo, it's on PlayStation 4. The demo is not that long, but hey, it's free. So,
or you could just listen to us talk about it on Hobby Addicts.
This game got quite a lot of seems to have quite a reasonable marketing budget behind it because, boy, it was like an entire. You know how like when like Last of Us 2 comes out on the PlayStation 4, how the splash screen is like the whole fucking screen. It's like hot new titles, and then usually there's like 4 or 5 games all broken into little sections. Well, this game had the whole fucking screen on PlayStation. It was like they really wanted you to try this game, and they're like, free demo. I was like, oh shit. So I played the free demo. I watched this anime. 3 episodes are out. This is a Sunrise anime, so people don't need any introduction to Sunrise, as they've done over 500 anime, which is so insane, including just a billion Gundam shows. So this is basically like the studio that is, it's the Gundam studio. So the director is Nishimura Hiroyuki, who is not a familiar name to me and has directed not much, really nothing else other than this. It seems like.
I just imagine Mitsugi going to the page and it's like studio, sunshine, and I'm like zoom in, enhance, and it goes like plus 500%, and then like in really small text right behind it, it just says in parentheses outsource Studio Dean. No,
oh my god,
shakes fist at heavens.
Oh my lord, I'm not even gonna look. I don't want to know.
No, it's not.
This is on Funimation, so if you want to watch it, it's on Funimation. So there's like this group of military people called. It's called the OSF, or the Other Suppression Force. And if you want to think of them as kind of like the Symphogear girls fighting the noise, kind of. Like there's like these bizarre monsters that are like attacking the city, and then there's like this group of people that will fight them. The OSF's not like cute girls, and they're more of an organized military force by comparison, and their designs are actually, Symphogear had some pretty good designs. So there's a character named Yuito who's the main character, and he just joined the OSF, and there's just like this whole big cast of characters in the OSF. There's probably about 7 or 8 characters that get screen time from the group, and they all have like psychic power. Some of them have like wind power. Some of them have like telekinesis, fire, etc. And one of them has like precognition, where she can like see what's going to happen like a few seconds in advance, which is like super OP. But they, they'll get called out to like fight the others that show up, and they'll go and they'll fight them, and and that's pretty much the bulk of the first 3 episodes. I mean, it doesn't have like a lot of story. What happens though in like the 3rd episode is basically like one of the girls, it's one of the twin girls. What the hell? I can't remember all their names, but one of the girl characters gets turned into an other. She like transforms into one of the monsters and gets like teleported away. And it's like, wow, what the fuck's going on? And so that's really like the big, like suspenseful, like what is happening type thing in the story that kind of happened in the first 3 episodes. Other than that, like there wasn't much story. The animation is really the drawback on this show. It's barely animated. I feel like they put most of their budget into the game, to be honest, because the animation is so bad in this that it's like more rare to have animation than not. Like usually it's just like a still image with lip flaps, no moving backgrounds, etc., etc. And the fight scenes are like in this really awkward CG. It just doesn't look good at all, which is really a shame because the game kind of has the anime rather it has like some flair to it, but it doesn't look good. The music's not good. The story is very minimal, and the monsters look totally absurd. I don't know if you've seen this, Mason, but like these others, they look even more dumb than the noise from Symphogear.
Mm-hmm.
Like an example of an other would be, it's almost like a collection of inanimate objects that like are attacking you. So like one of the common looking ones is like it literally is a bouquet of flowers with like glued to the bottom half of a mannequin. So it's like a mannequin's legs running around with a fucking bouquet of flowers sticking out of the top, and that's it. That's like one of the monsters. And I'm like, what the fuck? It looks like some shit you'd see like in a dark area in like Silent Hill. And all the monsters in this are, dumb like that. But the 3rd episode was pretty intriguing, honestly. And there's a lot of like sort of backstabbing, sort of like traitor type stuff going on within the OSF. There's definitely going to be some reveals that there are characters that are like playing on the other side. And so the story is going to unfold here, like probably through episodes 4 through 6, I'm guessing. But I would say that even though this season's really mediocre, I really don't think that this show did enough to really get past. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it's just not a good show. I think in a normal season, like if this was in like last season, this would be like a terrible show. This season, I feel like it's kind of in the middle, but ultimately we're not really hunting for shows in the middle, so I'm going to have to fail this one.
That is one big pile of shit.
Thank you, Jeff Goldblum.
He knows it when he sees it. I realized we didn't even cover like our impression format of like how it works.
Okay, so basically
autopilot.
Yeah, so we keep changing things up here, but like so what we do now is on the show we have 21 shows to do impressions on, and we will pass 6 of them as a group, as hosts. Really, it's supposed to be 2 passes each, 2 for each of us. But if we want to, we can kind of give a pass to somebody else, and whatever, in an effort to get the best shows. And then ultimately, after we finish our impressions, about a month from now, we're going to open it up and let the listeners vote on their favorites, and we will take the top 3. And then we'll end up with 9 reviews. So that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, so everything that we fail, you listeners have a chance to bring back and resurrect, or give us a show that we had no impressions on and save them. So nothing's down and out until you guys say it is. So
the Twitch audience is just talking about how no show from the season is going to pass. It is really not a good season.
Well, I was asking them like, is anything going to pass this episode? Place your bets.
Okay.
But yeah,
what do you got next?
My next one, let's do the long one because I have a lot to say on this.
Okay.
This was my number 5 pick. It is where the trivia question came from, Kageki Shoujo, which takes place at Koka Kageki Musical Drama Academy, which is essentially a fictional equivalent to the real-world all-female cast theater troupe of Takarazuka Review, which we mentioned before. It's definitely a more grounded, if still anime-inspired look at the theater life compared to like 2018's Review Starlight, which is way more like Ikuhara-inspired than this series, which feels a little bit more like Welcome to the Ballroom. But essentially, Kageki Shoujo tells the story of Ai Narata, a former idol who becomes an actress of this academy, as well as Sarasa Watanabe, a simple farm girl who is also an actress. And the two enroll and they do the thing. This is done by Studio Pine Jam, who's off the tails of doing Gleipnir. It's based on a manga, and it's over on Funimation. So, first off, the OP of this show has some very nice visuals, perhaps a little spoilery, but it has like this bedhead looking Sarasa who just looks like a fluffy Pokemon, and it's adorable. And the show as an entity, while maybe not as sharp looking as Gleipnir, really did look solid to begin with, but it did start dipping visually by the third episode. It's a lot of like back and forth. Some moments will look good, like when they're like freaking out over the dresses being made, right next to the moments looking not so good, where half of the class on their field trip is just gone, just not even there because they're like, who needs all those extra characters in the frame? Let's just not include them. But essentially, the story seems to revolve around this friendship between Sarasa, this Genki tall country girl, and her friendship with Ai, the former idol who is fearful of men, no doubt, caused by the legions of creepy males that she encountered at her previous occupation of being an idol. They both make it, past the admission process and are accepted into this prestigious school pretty quickly. So, like, by halfway through episode 1, they're, like, starting the school process, which I like. Of course, their friendship is off to a rocky start because Sarasa is a little too chipper, maybe, for Ai's takes. And of course, they end up as roommates, and they spend a lot of effort, like, avoiding one another whenever possible, much to Sarasa's dismay. And essentially, all the actors, which is to say actresses of this, troupe, are female. There are still plenty of male roles involved as far as like teachers and directors and people involved with the backstage. And that's very much a prominent part of the show where like episode 1, they bring in this like captain of like the Japan like self-defense force to like drill the class on walking to make them more in sync, which is an amusing teaching tool. But it gets strange when he's like, you know what, in this day and age, men need to really be wary of their conduct around females, and then instantly goes on to start making like passing sexual comments towards Sarasa, which, is not malicious or like, it still is weird, and he's instantly called out for it, which is good. But then Sarasa goes on to make weird sexual comments about the quote-unquote rockin' bod of one of her classmates. So it's like,
jeez, yep.
It's kind of nebulous on like where the line is being drawn, what they're trying to say with this. But what is very clear is that there's like a subplot of a stalker of Ai's from like her previous life, where he's like traveling across the country to like pursue her. And this is kind of where the tone shifts, where, it's still mostly lighthearted and fun. But in episode 3, we not only see Ai's fear of men come to a more like concrete presentation when the stalker encounters her and she, freaks out, but also the origin of her trauma. And most of the third episode is devoted to the physical and mental assault that she suffered as a child, like in the confines of her own home. And it is downright frightening, it's emotionally draining, and it does not hold back. And it doesn't contain what might be like traditionally called violence, but it was like brutal and tough to watch. And so often in anime, like androphobia is kind of a gimmick that characters are given a trait of for like funny moments or recurring gags of like, oh no, the guy touched me, I'm gonna slap him, haha, comedy. But that's fine, but it loses some of the sincerity and cheapens the condition when stacked up against how this show portrays it, and it's powerful stuff. The problem is I just have no idea what show Kageki Shoujo will turn into. Is this going to be a show about theater and training and learning and the competitive nature of it? Is it going to be about this emotional salvation and steps towards recovery for this like fragile character? Is it going to be about this giraffe girl that makes funny noises and dances a lot? Like, is it going to be all of the above? And at this stage, after 3 episodes, I have no idea what this show is about, what it's trying to say, what the quality will consist of. Like, I'm very hesitant with the promise I've seen, but also the ways I've seen it flounder. And I just think it's too soon to call. I've kind of enjoyed moments, I've kind of disliked others, and in I don't know, in a season as like wobbly as this, I don't want to make a determination yet. So I'm going to be a coward, and I'm going to say my call on the show is on hold. I have a feel for like what shows I think I want to pass, and I don't know if this show is one of them yet. So maybe maybe stay tuned, and I'll let you know later. So on
On
hold.
hold. What does that mean?
On hold. It means I don't want to say, oh, Kageki Shoujo, this is not a good show, failed. Because I just haven't seen enough of my other shows that haven't been released yet to get a feel for it. So maybe it'll get a pass later. Maybe it won't. It's just on hold. It's just not passed yet. That's all it is. It's just not passed.
How long do you think you're gonna have to wait, Mason?
Like 1 week.
Okay.
I think the show needs 1 more week for me to get a feel for where it is and what it's trying to say with all the themes.
So you're just gonna come in next week and be like, fail or pass.
Yep, pretty
just
much.
Like that. Okay.
Sorry. You thought you were gonna get an answer, but nope.
Wow. I don't have an on hold drop.
Yeah, you don't.
Well, the next one I got here is the first isekai show of the season. Whoops.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
I have a feeling you will probably fail that last one. That's my guess. That's my prediction.
There's a lot of other shows on my list that are a lot worse, so it might be a numbers game.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. So this next show of mine is called How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. It's an isekai anime, and it's not done by Studio Dean. It is done by JC Staff, and it's unlike your normal isekai show where it's just like this overpowered character jumps in and just does everything amazingly. This one is like probably going to be pretty boring to people, I feel like, but it's about this guy named Kazuya, and he gets summoned to this kingdom that, not to be like this hero to like slay a dragon or whatever, or be OP and have like girls, clawing at his feet. He's basically summoned because he is, I guess, smart or something, and he's going to rebuild this kingdom's economy because there's like these demons or some shit that are coming out of this like portal that have conquered like most of this northern continent, and there is a kingdom that I guess borders most of the territory that is controlled by the demons, and then there's all these countries that are like on the other side of that kingdom, and they're kind of shielded from the demons. So so just to get the map in your head, like the northern part is all demons, then there's this big country that is like bordering most of that territory. And then under that country, there's like these smaller countries. It's almost like Brazil is like, much bigger than like Uruguay and Paraguay. It's, for example, if you know South America. And then in order to support the effort to keep the demons at bay, the big country's like, hey, we're doing all this fighting. like we have the whole fucking border. So why don't you send us some like aid in the form of like money or food or whatever to our country so we can like defend you, basically, is like kind of what's happening. And so, but the country that Kazuya gets summoned to has like this shitty economy. They're not making like the right crops. People are like starving. They're in a depression. Everything sucks. And he gets summoned because, the current king is incompetent in this way, I guess. I think they said that like if it had been like a peaceful time, the king would have been fine. But because it's like, this time where the kingdom's not doing well and there's all this war happening, they need somebody that's like a little more intelligent, maybe has a little more backbone, and is like just better prepared to like lead it's almost like how to like manage a company in a way. And so this Kazuya kid gets summoned in, and he's like doing stuff like assessing their finances, which is like where are you wasting your money? Where can we clean up the money so we can like be more efficient, so we can have some left over to like send as aid. What is up with the crops? He finds out that like all they're making is cotton, I guess, which was useful at one point, but the cotton market has like gone downhill or something, and so the cotton's not really valuable anymore, and so he's gonna like get rid of some of the cotton and plant something that's a little more like helpful. And in the third episode, he was summoning all these like talented people to the court to assess like their abilities, because he needs like more competent people there to help him. So he summons like let's see. There was like an elf. They're all like on the main cast here, so I'm guessing they're all important. There's an elf, dark elf named Aisha, who's like super hot. It is what it is. Dark elf, pretty typical. And she's just hot. It is. She is, and she's like talented at fighting. So she's like super powerful fighter, and he summons this girl named Juna, who I don't know what her purpose is going to be, but she's described as like one of the most beautiful women in the world, and is also like an unbelievable singer. And she's like a descendant of like these Lorelei or something, which are like mermaids and whatever. And then there's like this other dude whose name's Poncho, and he's like this like overweight guy who is, I guess, ironically like talented in food, like he knows food, I guess. And then there's two other people. One of them's like a military strategist, and one of them's like this little girl who can like talk to animals or some shit. So he's summoning all these people to the court, and
does that guy know how to like make food, or he just knows food? You just like show him something, he's like, you can eat that.
My understanding is that he's gonna help them like fix the famine. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Well, they didn't really go into. They introduced all these people in one episode, so.
Are we gonna get a crop rotation arc?
Something like that, yeah. Probably.
Okay. It's one of those shows.
And I don't know, like honestly, this show is okay. It's not bad, so to speak. I wouldn't say it's good either. This is like one of those seasons where I'm gonna agonize over every pass I do, because it's like I don't really think any of my shows are really all that good. I don't think any of them are worth passing. But I have to pass something, so I'm gonna pass this one.
That vote of confidence.
I mean, actually, I thought nobody would be watching this, but as I look at it, it's actually one of the highest watched shows of the season.
As I look at it, it's an isekai.
It's the 7th most watched show of the season. So, and I don't know. It's not that great, but like, for example, the other isekai show is just another show where like the guy's overpowered and he's just gonna like beat everything up, and it's just like, I don't know. At least it's doing something that's not different, as opposed like for an isekai, like it's taking it from a different angle, and I don't know. I get the sense that like something interesting is gonna happen down the line, so we're gonna have to see. But with Agony, I will pass this one.
Oh, wait. Oh, and boom goes the dynamite.
There you go. That's how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. So, I mean, it's much more of a show for someone that would like Spice and Wolf maybe without Horo, which is like, because it's about like how to fix the kingdom instead of like fighting a monster. They're just like they might fight monsters. We'll see. I don't know.
Nice.
Mason, we're not gonna have time for all of these. You want to do one more?
I'll do one more because I'm actually gonna miss the last week of impressions. So
wow.
I need to get mine out. I know, I'm actually in like 2.5 years of doing this podcast, I'm actually gonna miss an episode for once. Can you believe it? Oh no! Everyone goes nuts. Everyone's so hyped. They're like, yes, finally, I don't have to hear this kid for one freaking week. Thank goodness. Yeah. My last impression for round 1 of the summer season is my number 3 pick, which is Bokutachi no Remake, or Remake Our Life. It tells the story of Hashiba, a 28-year-old game developer, but his company is going bankrupt, so he loses his job, and he goes back home to his town. He's like, man, oh man, I really wish I went to art school. There's all these really great, iconic creators my age, and maybe if I just hadn't started getting into game development so late, I too would be living my dream. And he's all mopey and all regretful. And he opens his eyes, and he, like Tokyo Revengers, he goes back in time 10 years, back to the time where he got the offer to go to art school. He's like, no, this time I'm going to make the most of it. And he goes to school, and that's what the show's about. So the show starts with one of those double-length episodes, which gives the show time to set up Kyoya as an earnest, hardworking, intelligent, not too flimsy main character. He's a pretty good MC. He's not someone out here like lamenting, not even trying his dream, but he did give it 2 attempts, but just due to the unfortunate reality of life, external factors kind of stopped him from succeeding. So it's strange though. His dream is that, like, oh, I didn't wish I was like smarter or developed my skills. He's more of just like, man, I just wish I knew these people that are going to be really successful. Like, I just wish I punched my ticket to success with these winning students, and then I'd be a success. It'd be like if I was like, oh, if I went to some, if I just could go back to high school, but was friends with someone really famous, maybe I'd be famous now and I'd be successful through them. Like, it's kind of a weird dream to have. So anyway, he goes back in time. He goes to the art university, Osaka University of the Arts, and becomes not only classmates but roommates of the now future 10 successful people that he wants to be friends with. So whatever. And let's talk about story mechanics here. When a show is like, okay, we're going to have our story go back in time 10 years for no other reason than the fact that this is what the story is about, like, I can accept that. Like, I don't need to have a sci-fi explanation. I don't need to have a magical sorceress. I don't need to have anything that explains that. No matter how impossible it is, I understand that this is kind of essential to the story. The go back in time mechanic, sure, I can believe that. But when the show is like, well, he goes back in time, and now this half undressed girl slips into bed with him, sloppily like gulps down this white yogurt drink,
what?
So that its contents spill all over her exposed chest.
Yeah.
And she falls face first into her main character's crotch.
Wow.
Sure, that is more likely to occur in reality than going back in time 10 years. But because that scene was so unnecessary and gratuitous, and like it renders an otherwise like earnest look at like artistic development with your best friend, like it just turns the entire show into a by the numbers wish fulfillment show. And I found so much of the writing, particularly in the dialogue, to be so drab. And every problem him and his new friends that he just kind of steals ideas from in the future to use in the past tense, they just come up to these problems which have like super underwhelming resolutions. There's a moment where he's arguing with the script writer because they're tasked with making like a 3-minute long visual to explain the essence of time. And they're arguing like, your script is too long. We got to cut it down. We got to cut it down. And the guy's like, no, you're sacrificing like the integrity of my artistic vision. And he's like, well, what am I going to do about it? And the solution is talk to the script writer. And now they don't actually come up with a solution. They just discuss, and then they come up with a solution off screen, and the problem is solved. Or they go to shoot this video, and they don't have the right camera. So they just are like, so we got to make this weird art house piece of still images. And then they present it for this huge auditorium. And of course, we don't get to see that. We just see the reaction to it, where people are applauding and crying because it's so moving. But we have to be told, oh, this was a good film, but it's not good enough for you to actually see it as an audience. Like, it just, every resolution was so half-baked. And yes, I could see that, I don't know, like, there's some interesting component of, like, seeing a behind the scenes of this, like, art life at the school, but, like, as a narrative about Kyoto's life and this, like, opportunity has been granted, I couldn't care any less. This was such an infuriating show. It's a fail. I once again,
he's beside himself.
Time mechanic. I get the wish fulfillment. I'm sure it's fun. Like, it was aiming for this like Shirobako-esque aspirations, maybe with like Pet Girl, maybe a little Tokyo Revenger. Like, it's all mixed together. It has good ingredients, but it was just so flaccid. It was terrible.
Flaccid. Wow. That is.
Oh my goodness.
Are you gonna be okay?
I think so. I think so.
Shall not pass!
You referred to it as flaccid. That was so great.
It's a light novel. It's on Crunchyroll. The main girl's voice is a little annoying. I don't know. There's just a lot that irked me about the show. It was a lot of small sticks that broke my back on this one, more than like a big one with Kanojo. So there you go. Another one bites the dust.
Bokutachi no Remake. Goodbye.
I'm sorry. I'm sure it'll come back. I'm sure it'll come back with listener's choice.
You're gonna love this Megami Ryo no Ryobokun show too.
Oh yeah, I'm concerned about that one. I think that one knows what it's gonna be, and it's just gonna be all fan service.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, well, at least it knows what it's going for, and drop it. Whereas this one, just I don't know.
I was 100% sure that the Peach Boy show was gonna be fan service because I saw this like shot of like this girl being like tentacle raped or whatever in it, and that is the only shot in the first 3 episodes that has any fan service. I was like, what? I was like, how did this shot even get in this anime? It was like a whole hour.
Peach Boy.
It was a whole hour of just not fan service or not even ecchi. And then it was like this one shot of this. She's just like just being totally raped by this octopus. And it's just in her mind. But like it's very, very random. Anyway, wow. So we passed one show. We had to pass something.
There we go. What did we pass?
We passed Genjitsu Shugi Yuusha no Oukoku Saikenki, which is how the realists rebuilt the kingdom or whatever. Okay. Which is a show that I'm surprised so many people are watching it because it's like not about moe girls or ecchi or monsters or anything. It's just I don't know, not the normal anime fare, I guess, but it is an isekai, so I guess that's pretty much the most popular genre. So the other isekai show just sucks. It's fucking terrible.
Oh no, not promising. Well, maybe some shows will pass in the future once some more stuff starts coming out with. So that was it. Anything that failed, remember, you, the viewer, have a chance to revive it in our eventual listener's choice poll. So keep your eye out for that. In the meantime, thanks for joining us. This was episode 500 something or other. There's so many of these.
85.
Yeah, something like that. I believe you. Follow us on Twitter. Podcast is at AAA Podcast. Mitsugi is at Pope Mitsugi. I'm at Macy Pacey. Facebook, Discord, so much happening. Discord, we have an anime club discussing the first 13 episodes of Super Dimensional Fortress Macross. I gotta say, I had low expectations going in. We did a watch party of the first 2 episodes. Pretty rad. I'm actually really hyped for this one now. That'll be July 28th at 10 p.m. EDT. Manga Club is talking the first 3 volumes of Pandora Hearts. Same mangaka that is doing the Vanitas show from this season, so that's been a trip so far. That's July 21st, also at 10 p.m. EDT. Both of those, check out the media, come in, chat, don't chat, just whatever, be friendly. AAPodcast.com, the website, we got all the stuff you need to know. The mailbags, the bonus content, the iTunes, do it all. And we'll see you next week for round 2 of more impressions and fails and passes. So who knows what you're going to get. We'd love to see you there, though. Till next time, have a good one.
Bye, guys.